Hello fellow humans, my name is Poppy, my bedroom is still a building site, and I'm a third culture kid. And it's okay if you don't know what that means, not many people do, unless they are one or happen to spend a lot of time with one that talks too much. Not to mention, the definition is a little vague, but if we consult with the old wiki-picky, TCKs are defined as people raised in a culture other than their parents, or the culture of the country named on their passport, where they are legally considered native, for a significant part of their early development years. And in all my travels over my 21 years on Earth, and those 5 years on Mars, but we don't talk about those, I've established there are two main kinds of TCK. The ones whose parents are from 2 or more different countries, and the ones who have lived in 2 or more different countries. Now, because I'm half English and half Romanian, and I've also lived in 8 countries, I happen to fit both criteria, so I'm going to be talking about what that's like. Today I'll be focusing on having parents from 2 different countries, but watch this space, because I'll definitely be back with more TCK content soon. So before I ramble on any longer, let's get into it. Here are the quirks, byproducts, whatever you want to call them, of being a multinational little person. Or Martian. Firstly, if your parents are from 2 different countries, it's likely that those countries also speak different languages, and in that case you grew up bilingual. Being bilingual is known for having many perks, including the fact that it makes it easier to learn other languages. But even if you stick to just your original 2, you can have a lot of fun. For example, spotting really bad translations between your 2 languages is both painful and amusing. When I'm back home in Romania, sometimes the subtitles on English programs will be severely wrong. There was an episode of The Vicar of Dibley and they were talking about Christmas crackers. You know, those things that you pull and jokes and toys come out. But the subtitles took that quite literally and translated them as biscuit special de Crăciun, as in special Christmas biscuits, like crackers, biscuits. And then another example was a nature documentary, and they had jellyfish on screen, and the Romanian word for jellyfish is meduza, which it is in a lot of languages, but for some reason the subtitlers just put pește geleu, as in fish jelly. So yeah, noticing those mistakes can be frustrating, but it does make you laugh at the same time. And then there are, of course, instances where having 2 native languages makes it really easy to have secret conversations in public. But of course, when you start speaking another language in public, people mistake you for a tourist. If I accidentally speak English to my mother in a Romanian market, they'll try and charge us the tourist prices until we remind them, no, actually, we know what we're doing, calm down. And that brings me on to my next point. People always want to identify you as the most foreign thing. When I was at uni in England, people always thought of me and referred to me as the Romanian. But then, when I was in high school in Romania, I was always one of the English ones. In fact, the only English one. We really didn't have many English people at our school. And obviously I'm not offended by the fact that people label me as what I am. It just feels a bit weird because it's only half of what I am. And it's like people never remember that they have something in common with you. They always want to think about what's different, which I feel like is quite true to a lot of aspects of life. And obviously when everyone labels you as that foreign thing, you don't try to deny it because it is a part of you. You embrace it to the best of your ability, but it still feels like you're denying half of yourself. But occasionally you get these amazing opportunities to assert your bi or multinationality, because people will ask you something like, so, which one do you identify more as? And then with the utmost confidence you can be like, haha, neither, because I am both. And that's something else I've noticed about life and people and how we categorize things, because it's so hard for people to accept that you could be 2 or more things. They want to just put you into a little box and say, right, you're the Romanian, or you're the English person, or you're straight, or you're gay. You know, people don't like in-betweens, they don't like grey areas, and unfortunately I exist in grey areas. But having said that, while it feels like I'm constantly trying to prove that I am from 2 places, I can't deny that sometimes my knowledge is lacking because I miss out on certain experiences or cultural traditions, just having to split my time and my energy between two countries. I remember this one time not too long ago when we were back in Romania and our family had gathered to give pomana, which is basically an offering to the deceased. And we were all in the living room in my grandparents' house and a priest knocked on the door. And he walked in, he started giving this speech about how he wanted to bless us. He handed out what can only be described as business cards for the church. I mean, they had a picture of the church on and then like some quotes about Jesus and stuff. And I had never experienced this before. I'd never had a priest just walk into the house. And then he saw why we were gathered, and I thought this might sort of encourage him to give us our moment and leave, but he insisted on giving us a blessing. So we all sat down on my grandparents' bed, and he put his stole over our heads and then started doing the prayers and everything like that. And I understand the intention behind it, but my point is, it was something I had never experienced before, and I was already in my late teens. So yeah, with the priest and the gathering and the pomana, it was this culmination of experiences I'd never had before, and it made me realise how much more I had to learn about my own culture, because I spend so much time trying to figure out little bits about both that I still miss out on some things. And in fact, juggling these two identities can sometimes put you in a slightly awkward situation. If tensions arise between your two nations, it can put you in a really uncomfortable spot. Look, it's no secret that some Brits, and of course not all of them, but some, don't think too highly of the Eastern Europeans coming into the country. And being both English and Romanian, I've had some pretty interesting conversations surrounding this topic. There was one time I was visiting a very distant family member in Liverpool, and at the end of our conversation, throughout which she did keep referring to Romania as that country you're from, she asked me really politely if I'm one of them immigrants. Not that there's anything wrong with migration, obviously, but even so, I have a UK passport, so where did that come from? Why was it necessary? What would you have done with the information if I was? And then there was another instance, a lot more recently, that was comically shocking, and I just couldn't believe the propaganda this guy had heard or read or seen somewhere. But I was in a taxi, going to IKEA with my mother, shopping for this house, obviously, and he told us about how he won't let his stepson go home and see his real dad because everyone in Jamaica just dies, and if he goes to Jamaica to see his dad, he will just die. And then he added that Jamaican violence is spreading in the UK as well, and I mean, many things wrong with that. But then he claimed, and this is where it gets personal, he claimed that you can't blame the Jamaicans because it's the Romanians who are teaching them to be violent. Of course, we asked what he meant by that, because we weren't aware of Romanians being known for violence. And he said, oh, you know how it is there. Every single Romanian kid, when they're growing up, they're handed a knife and they're trained to fight with knives in the street, and that's just what it's like. All the streets of Romania are just full of kids wielding knives and stabbing people. So then when they come to England, they bring their trusty knives in the suitcases that they come with, and they teach people to stab here too, mainly the Jamaicans. No, I don't. I mean, if I reflect on my childhood as a Romanian and in Romania, even in the streets, that's not a thing I did, bro.
Right now we're in Gledden in Romania, and we come here pretty much every year. That's the restaurant we always go to down there. And this is the mountain. We used to always climb up and roll down, but now it's full of dirt and stuff, so we're just gonna walk up and hopefully no bears come. Say hello, George.
So I suppose what I'm trying to say is, it's very tiring being both the perpetrator and victim of not only job theft, but knife crime in the United Kingdom. Whew.
Well, I didn't manage to catch it on the film because it finished, but that cow just had a wee right in front of us.
But that's enough on that topic. Let's get back to something slightly happier. Having family in 2 or more different countries means you can have very different experiences when going home to see them, whether for the holidays or just for fun. Let's use grandparents as an example. First of all, it's really easy to know which ones you're referring to, because my English ones were grandma and granddad, and my Romanian ones are bunny and bundu. But aside from that, it's the actual trip that can feel very different, because obviously you're in different places. When I think of visiting my English grandparents, I picture the Christmas panto and Strictly Come Dancing on TV and my grandma's fireplace and big roast dinners. But then when I think of my Romanian grandparents, I tend to picture Easter. So the huge spreads of food along the table, including salată bœuf and sarmale de post, which are like vegan cabbage rolls, basically. And then one of my fondest memories is painting Easter eggs by hand, because we have so many nifty tricks for doing that, like wrapping them in onion skins to create this tie-dye effect. But of course, it's not just the festive seasons that I hold dear. I think there's something so special about having 2 or more countries you can call home and you can feel comfortable in. And I think having family from such different worlds creates this beautiful mix of cultures and a sort of appreciation amongst yourselves of one another, despite that one woman in Liverpool who was only part of the family through marriage, so she doesn't count. But whatever. Being from 2 countries is a huge part of my identity and has definitely shaped the person I am. So I can't really imagine life without it. I don't really have a clever conclusion to this video. I mean, I could go on and on philosophically about all the potential outcomes of the person I would be if my life was slightly different, but that doesn't really matter because it's not real. What is real is that my parents met and they were from 2 different countries, and when they made my brother and I, these 2 worlds collided and became these mushy, crying balls of multiculturalism that are very grateful for the experiences they've had. Okay, I think that's a nice place to end the video. Now, obviously I've only discussed one aspect of being a third culture kid, so stick around for when I talk about the living in multiple countries thing, because whew, that's a doozy. The link will be in the description when it comes out. And if you'd like to support me and see more of this multicultural, whatever it is that I do, content, please like and subscribe because it would help me greatly. Thank you!